Hey guys, welcome back to episode 18 of Two Girls, One Crime. We are back.
I really never know what you're gonna do.
Neither do I, honestly. I always put and then here we go. So I
Yep.
obviously am one of your hosts, Megan, and this is my dear, beautiful, wonderful friend, Emma.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you.
Of course, I always need to hype up bestie. We are going to be talking about a case. Obviously, it's very well known in terms of the serial killers in the world and more so the United States, and was kind of during that serial killer era where in the span of 10 years everyone was going out. John Wayne Gacy, local to not only Wisconsin, close to
Yeah.
Wisconsin, but also close to where I grew up. So look at us connect with this place, We're really diving into this one.
We are.
I hope my neighbors hear me talk.
I hope so. Oh my gosh, I hope so. Well, Megan just moved, guys.
I did just move. I'm on the East Coast now. I'm in CLT, Charlotte.
Yep, very good.
I can't wait for Emily to come visit and we do a in-person podcast, or I go visit,
Guys, it's gonna be so fun.
in-person TikToks. I will be so excited to
Yes.
oh my gosh, we gotta do promo.
Yes, guys. Eek! I know. But she's moving into a new spot, so now she's gonna have a more consistent background, guys.
I'm gonna have a very consistent background.
Comment your favorite background she had.
Besides the lovely chair that my mother gave me,
Yes.
I'm gonna be sitting in a nice background and not this bizarre. See, we're getting better. We're not on the floor anymore, and you can't see my bed sitting right behind me. So
Okay, that's okay.
in the world.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. Well, like Megan said, we're talking about John Wayne Gacy today, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of his background, and then she's gonna talk about the crime, the exciting stuff. So he, like Megan said, was born in Chicago, Illinois. He was born at Edgewater Hospital. He was born into a family with mom, dad, two sisters. He was the middle child and the only son. His mom was at home, and his dad was an auto repair mechanic and a veteran. John Wayne Gacy, his dad was also named John Gacy, so a lot of the things that
senior.
Yeah, a lot of them were the younger John or John Jr. So we'll see what we call them both. The younger John Gacy was really close with his mom and his sisters, but had a pretty difficult relationship with his father. His dad was an alcoholic and was pretty physically and verbally abusive towards him. It really was just towards the younger John Gacy, not with his sisters, and his father really belittled him. So he didn't have a great relationship with his father. Going a little bit forward, 1949, his father actually began kind of being more physically abusive. He hit him after he found that him and one of his friends were caught sexually assaulting a younger girl. And in the same year, Gacy began being molested by a family friend of theirs. He never told this to his father or his family because he thought that his dad would blame him for it. And it is kind of sad because he really loved his dad, but he just felt like he was never good enough for him. So that's kind of sad. So a little bit more to when he was much younger, he was pretty overweight and unathletic as a child. He didn't really do any sports. He was actually advised not to because he had a heart condition. He experienced a lot of blackouts and he was sometimes hospitalized for them. He had his appendix removed, so he spent almost a year in the hospital from ages 14 to 18. So he was there quite a bit. But his dad actually thought that he was making up everything, and he actually said it in the hospital, in front of nurses, that he thought he was faking all of his symptoms. So not a great relationship with his father, which is kind of what made him who he was. So that's a little bit sad, but that's kind of a background on him as a child and when he was kind of living at home. I'm going to give a quick career background also, and then Megan's going to talk about the stuff more in detail. But basically, he started working in Illinois, In 1960, at age 18, he became pretty involved in politics, like local politics. He began working as an assistant precinct captain for the local Democratic Party candidate, lots of words. And another part with his father is that he actually bought him a car, but kept it in his name, the father's name, John Gacy Sr., until John Wayne Gacy Jr., Baby John, paid it off, which like took a lot of years. His dad also kind of like took the keys when he didn't want younger John to drive it, so it wasn't able to be used. He definitely like took control of his life, and like things that he bought him, used those as excuses to kind of, I guess, like boss him around and control him. So he began working at also an ambulance service, and then became I can never say it, mortuary attendant for 3 months. He basically watched like morticians embalming bodies. So not super fun. But he did confess that he slept there sometimes, and he talked about climbing into one of the coffins and embracing and caressing one of the bodies inside.
You know, I get it.
You can't do that.
I don't understand.
You can't do that.
I don't understand why, but
no. No. So this kind of kicked him into gear, and he was like, I should not be doing this. And he decided to head back home. He attended Northwestern Business College. He was very into his academics in college, even though he didn't graduate high school. He became a salesman. He actually got engaged to a coworker at his company named Marlon Myers. I thought it was Marilyn, but it's spelled Marlon, so I don't know. I'm sorry. His company actually moved him to Springfield, Illinois. He joined like a local chapter of the Jaycees, which is like a nonprofit leadership training organization for like young adults, basically. He joined that. He became the vice president of that, and he was like doing really well in the Jaycees and really well in his job. He did have relations with a man, and he like claimed that this man got him drunk, and they did things, but he blamed it on the other man. Marlon and John were engaged. Her family purchased 3 KFCs in Waterloo, Iowa. So now we're in Iowa, and they moved there so that John and the family could like tend to the restaurants. This is, I feel like, when it took a bit more of a turn, because Gacy actually opened up a club in his basement where all of the employees could like drink, play pool, and he only socialized with the men who showed up there. Him and his wife had children in 1966, 1967, and he like claimed that this time in his life was perfect. He joined the Waterloo Jaycees. He became the vice president of them too, and he did kind of say that the Waterloo Jaycees were very into like drugs and wife swapping, and he wasn't really into that, or so he claimed. And that's kind of like all we have until things got kind of crazy, which Megan's going to talk about.
Yeah, so picture Guy as a family man is what a lot of people called him before his life kind of took a turn. And as usual, when we go through these things that span over a couple of years, I always got timelines for everybody. So I'm gonna be
of course. She's the timeline queen.
I love my timeline. So we're gonna be throwing out a lot of dates here, a lot of years. That's what I was thinking of. So starting off between 1967 and 1968, again, Gacy was a restaurant manager. He was a father at the time in Waterloo, Iowa. And around this time, 2 high schoolers who were male said that he had served them alcohol, forced them to watch pornography, and initiated sexual acts. They also claimed that Gacy not only tried to strangle them, but decided to hire a high school senior to intimidate one of the boys from actually speaking out, which that didn't actually work. So on December 3rd of 1968, he was caught and he pled guilty and earned a 10-year prison sentence, which was at the time seen as the highest sentence you could get for doing something of this nature. And the purpose of that was to deter him from going after teenage boys. That didn't occur, which we'll get to, but that was the goal. So at this point, he had already had a prior criminal record. On June 18th of 1970, so about 2 years after that, he was reported to be a proper behaved prisoner, which allowed him early release from the Iowa State Reformatory for Men, and he only served for 18 months, so about a year and a half. And this was seen that he's going to go off, do whatever, call it a day. And at this time, he divorced his wife and he moved back to his hometown in Illinois to be near his mother. Keep in mind, his father had died, so his idea of going there was to take care of his mother. Then we go on a little bit later to February 12th of 1971, and this is when another teen boy told the Chicago police that he picked him up from a bus station and tried to force him into having sexual relations with him. At the time, the charge was dropped because the boy didn't show up to the trial, so there's nothing that they could have done. And on top of that, which was a little bit weird, and if you think about it, during the time period in 1970s, it wasn't so simple as people could pick up the phone and call, but the Iowa Parole Board had no idea that this charge had occurred, and he was continuing to walk free with the idea that he was still behaving in the community. So then we move on to August 1971. He decided he was going to open a construction business, and this is where Mom and Gacy moved into his new home that they got. And this is where a lot of the crimes occurred, and a lot of the evidence was stored for years. So super key.
Years.
So this is 1971, and we'll keep this one going. So January 3rd of 1972, he picked, this is his first known murder, which was Timothy McCoy, and according to later confessions, he picked him up and they drank together, engaged in some sexual acts, and Gacy ended up stabbing him to death and then burying him within the crawl space, which is the famous crawl space where he hid everything.
In his house.
In his house with his mother in the home.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
You do you, man. Yep. So we get to July 1st of 1972, and this is when he married Carol Hoff, who was a childhood friend. There wasn't a lot on this relationship, more so that they just married, they were happy in love, all those sorts of things. She moved into the home and noticed a smell that was coming from the basement, the crawl space, and he at the time just said, oh, it's the sewer pipes, it's nothing crazy, and he even did try to cover up the smell with lime and something else. I think limes and lemons to like make the smell go away, but she thought nothing of it. So then we go on.
Yeah, your head wouldn't really go there. Oh, he's keeping a dead person down there. No.
So then we get to July 31st of 1975. So this is about 5 years after he was released from prison. There was another boy who went missing, and this was John Botkovich. I'm going to say it wrong. Botkovich.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that one.
He was working at the construction site that Gacy was running, and there were multiple reports of him having a heated argument or a heated confrontation with him. There was his car that was found near his parents' home, but the keys were still in the ignition, which caught people off guard. Later, it was discovered that he was murdered, and he was the third murder victim. So then we go on to July of 1979. We're about, 6 years, I think. I think almost technically, if we think about it, we're about 10 years past his initial problem. So there were multiple increasing number of complaints about Gacy, people going missing who were around Gacy, teenage boys, that sort of thing. And the police really decided to step in after a 9-year-old boy who was a prostitute went missing, and they had some sort of connection to Gacy. So they decided to park a car in front of his house, watch him, and they could see some young men coming in and out of the house, because even though he killed some of them, there was also the ones who maybe were coming over and him saying he was going to do these, you do sexual acts on me, I'll pay you money, and then they would leave. But the young men would not give up any information. They didn't say a word, they didn't say he did anything, and just moved on. So we get to March 2nd of 1976, and this is where things really take a turn. So Gacy decided to divorce his wife, and this is where Pogo the clown came into play, where his what many call his alter ego came in, where he
Yeah.
started saying things like this is he would go to kids' houses and play this clown or run around the neighborhood and dress up in this clown.
Yeah.
And between 1976 and 1977, and this was after this all came out, he claimed another 24 people, killed another 24 people in the span of about a year.
That's bonkers.
It's crazy when you really think about it and the numbers and all of that. It just is kind of like, okay. So then
Not
we get
good.
to March.
And we're not even done, guys.
Yeah, we're not even done. There's
It's still going.
So we get
Ugh.
to March 21st of 1978, and this is Jeff Rignall. And at the time, Gacy had offered to Jeff and said, hey, I'm going to give you marijuana. Come smoke it in my car. And he got in the car. And this kid was 26 years old. And what he did was he used chloroform, which, for those of you who don't know, is a drug that you can use to knock somebody out. He tortured and he raped him multiple times at his house. And then he dumped him in the park. As far as the research shows, he's still alive, and he wrote a book called 29 Below, where he accounted the acts that JC committed on him, but he just left him alive in a park. And then we get to December 11th, 1978, and this is kind of where it really was. A lot of people think it was Gacy kind of being dumb in many ways and just kind of not really trying to be subtle anymore, because he took 15-year-old Robert Peast, and it was reported that he went missing. He told his mom he was going to go and see someone with a high-paying job and who was going to pay him. Police ended up following to Gacy's home, and something that was very interesting about this particular person was he was considered a popular guy in the high school, well known. A lot of people in the community knew him. So this is where it kind of led police to be like, well, you're taking somebody multiple people know. It's not just some unknown person nobody's going to notice. And not that that makes a difference, but it made a huge difference in this case, because they were just like, well, where is this person going? So then we get to December 20th of 1978. So we're 10 years plus past his initial problem with allowing the two boys to drink underage.
Yep.
He was taken in for questioning, and while he was sitting with his lawyer, and this is his new lawyer, he admitted to torturing, raping, and killing at least 30 young men. He didn't deny it. He didn't hide from it. He admitted to it. And on top of that, the lawyer was so disgusted and so concerned about the amount of people he had killed, they decided, he said, do not let Gacy leave. Which, if you really think about it, he's got to be saying some messed up stuff.
If your lawyer is saying that.
Your lawyer is telling you not to leave. And
they're supposed to be on your side.
It's like...
Yeah.
You just imagine, and we'll talk about some of this with the trial, but this grossed out people so much about how vile and inhumane it was that people were getting sick and were unable to be around him because they just couldn't understand. And also, we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Like actually physically sick, not even just like...
No, physically
that's
sick.
gross. Like...
And the thing is, we talked about Jeffrey Dahmer and how disgusting that is. And I'm sure there were people who had to get up and they couldn't sit and hear some of this. But at the same time, it's like the fact that some of this stuff was people in real time were like, nope, I'm done. I can't handle this anymore. That makes it so much crazier.
Yeah. I feel like that really puts it into perspective of what it was like being in there. Ugh. That gives me the bad chills. Yeah, no.
You know what? A positive from this, though, him admitting and not hiding it, is that about 2 days later, He was arrested and he admitted to burying several of the bodies in the attic or the crawl space.
Yeah.
In total, from what they identified, it was 29 bodies were on Gacy's property in the crawl space, and then 4 were in the rivers southeast of Chicago. I would love to know 30 people being dead in his home. Two things with that is obviously,
Yeah.
man, but I could not let go of that smell. And just
No,
think about,
lemons and limes aren't going to do anything for 29 people.
no, and it's like, ah.
And, like, was nobody who was coming in the house being like, I don't know, especially, I mean, if it's in the basement or the attic, like, I feel like that's either, both of those are going to smell up the whole entire sandwiched middle of the house. So, like, no matter where he put these people, ugh.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think it's vile, and it
It's
just
gross if my trash stays in my apartment for, like, a day too long. Never mind 29.
29 bodies, and they're not
Yeah,
even like,
no.
oh, you're putting a live person in a crawl space and locking them in there. Dead body.
Yeah.
Oh, he's rot. Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah,
So,
no, not good.
so with that being said, on April 23rd of 1979, so this was about a year after his arrest, a little less than a year, let's say 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
He was charged first with 7 of the killings, and 33, I believe 33. That number doesn't match what I'm saying, but there was a lot he was charged with during like the grand jury. Oh, he alluded to 26 during the grand jury. This is a statistic, largest number charged to one person in American history. And something that's crazy about this is if we think about the 2 we talked about with Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy, it just is kind of like, whoa, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, hearing that, like,
Is
statistic is crazy. That it's, yeah, it's, like, we talk about so many of these that are, like, horrific, but hearing something like that's the largest number charged to one person in all of American history is, ugh.
it's vile.
Ugh.
So
No.
during this 5-week-long trial, so it wasn't even that long, it was about a month and a week, they heard the test of Rignall, who was the guy who was kidnapped and raped, and
Who wrote the book.
Yeah, who wrote the book. And during his trial, he in fact vomited on the stand because he was so disgusted and grossed out from the details he had to recall of what Gacy did to him.
So bad.
And just hearing about what had happened to the other victims. During this time, there was a lot of forensic testimony as well about how many of the victims died by strangulation with a rope around their neck. And his defense team decided to enter a plea of insanity. A big thing that I find really interesting with this is that his mother and sister testified to help, and a lot of their testimony kind of revolved around how his father was super abusive, didn't care about him. I don't know if there was sexual abuse mentioned. I don't believe there was. But
I don't think so. I think it was just, like, emotional and, not just emotional, but, like, emotional and physical, but not, it didn't sound like any sexual.
Yeah, so a lot of that physical abuse they brought up, and they said that this is why he did what he did and why he was so messed up for so many years and all that stuff. So that was, my foot just cramped. That was just, I understand the whole sister and mother protection thing, but at the same time, it is just like, your son did kill 30 people.
Your son just killed the most amount of people charged to one person in American history.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't necessarily be standing up to the rooftops and shouting, like, yay, this is great.
No. I do feel like the way his father treated him 100% changed who he
Oh,
was,
sure.
obviously. But it's hard to, like, use that as an excuse.
Yeah, I don't understand it, and I wish I did, and maybe one day I will, but it's to a point where you could argue he had a mental breakdown, and that's why he killed one person, but it's like, to say that he did that for 30 people is just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Not good.
So, positive to this, on March 12th of 1980, he was found guilty, and it only
Mm-hmm.
took the jury, like, I want to say an hour and a half to decide.
Mm-hmm.
He was executed.
Good.
Yeah, he was executed May 10th of 1994.
Mm-hmm.
So about, I think this is now like 20, 30 years. It might be longer.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
25 years, I feel like, since he started.
And fun fact, the day he got executed was the day Jeffrey Dahmer got baptized, which was very strange to learn. I just was like, oh, okay.
You would know that fun fact.
I know. Fun fact for everyone listening. So he was executed. I believe it was the electric chair. And everyone was very pleased when he did because of how horrific of a crime he committed. And he continued even
Yeah.
after he was in prison. I didn't add all this stuff on there, but he literally set up a line where people could pay him to draw pictures of clowns and himself. And it just is, people did do messed up stuff like that. And it
The
just,
whole clown thing is like a whole nother situation that we can't even,
I don't really
like,
get.
no.
I just think that over time he just kind of, I don't know, like,
I don't know. Everything is so bad, but it is just really bad. The clown.
the
I
clown.
can't get over the clown part of it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, no thanks.
Thank you.
Ooh. Yeah, no thank you. I don't like that.
So, yeah. The cool thing with this, though, is a lot of the victims, some of them were identifiable. In 2011, which was a while ago, but still, the Illinois Sheriff's Department and all those people, they are continuing to try to identify more victims with
Yeah.
DNA evidence, and they want to continue to kind of bring justice to families and to help them, which I think is cool. And again, this was 10 years ago, so who knows? They could have identified the majority of the victims by now, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's really good because they were all pretty young. A lot of them were younger men.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is nice for those families to have as much justice as they can, or closure, I mean. But yeah, that was like 15 years ago, so I do wonder if anything has occurred since then. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I do hope that they've, found
there's
some
gotta
more.
be, though, because if you think about the case that we did 2 weeks ago, I want to say. It was the plane one. Why am I forgetting his name? DB Cooper.
Oh, DB Cooper.
Like, for years they kept that one going, and it was for one person who didn't kill anybody, who just stole a bunch of money.
Right.
I would assume that they're continuing to try to figure it out.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think, here it says that the police, like you said, are using modern DNA profiling to identify remaining unnamed victims. Recent identifications include someone from 2021 named Francis Alexander.
Oh, cool.
So that is cool, at least. It looks like 2021 was the last one. So
Well,
I hope that they
that's a start.
continue to get as much justice as possible and closure. So we don't have many frequently asked questions this week just because they were all kind of very repetitive, and the two that we have are still repetitive.
Repetitive.
They usually are repetitive anyways, but these ones were quite. So how and when did he die? Megan just said this, but he was executed by lethal injection on May 10th, 1994. And he was, or how and when? Yeah, that is how and when. I also have noted that he was at the Menard Correctional Center in Chester, Illinois. And then also, like Megan said, how many victims were there? What was his sentence? He was guilty of 33 counts of murder and was sentenced to death, obviously, like we said. Yeah, in March of 1980. So he was in prison for like 14 years before he was executed.
The best. I don't understand death row sometimes because they stay there for 40 plus years, and then it's like,
Right. Right.
I don't understand, but maybe we'll do research on death row for our next episode.
A whole episode.
Let's talk about death row, my favorite topic.
Wow, that's going to be a cheery one. But yeah, so we didn't have many frequently asked questions. I don't know, I always struggle to say that. Just because this one was super repetitive and Megan did really well with all the dates and years and everything. So
I apologize
we got that
for
down.
hearing me rant about time for 45 plus minutes.
Hey, it's okay. There was a lot of information here, and yeah, it's crazy, especially when he met 2 dozen people in a year. Like, yeah, no good. No good. This wasn't a super cheery one.
No, but he's gone, and they're still trying to identify victims, and
yeah, at least it's not an unknown, so we
oh my god,
hopefully there's some closure there.
Yeah, imagine there were 33 victims, and then there was no killer ever found. Be like, oh.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't even want to think about that. Eek. No. Well, we appreciate you guys listening to another week of our podcast. This is episode 18, which is
oh my god, we're so
wild.
20. Our child can almost legally drink.
Yay! Our child can. How old are we? 18. They can vote.
Oh, they can buy a lottery ticket.
Yes. Growing up. Well, again, please comment any people that you want us to talk about. We'll try to find someone really exciting for episode 20, because why not? But yeah, comment anyone that you want us to talk about, and follow our, well, you'll be listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, so subscribe, follow TikTok, all of it. Yes, of course. We love our TikTok. And yeah, we appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to another episode of ours.
And again, we love you. We keep you safe. Isn't that what the girlies do? They do. Yeah, that thingy.
That one's hard for me to do. I like this one better.
Like break every time.
Too good.
Love you all. We will.
We love you all.
Next week.
Hey.
Bye.